What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Halftime with Bizzy, and today we have a very special and very important guest rejoining the podcast, coming back to sit down with us and talk to us about what she's been up to since the last time we spoke with her. I think a lot of people really wanted to hear more about today's guest, that being Lillykyu. I think it's awesome to tap back in with Lilly and see what else she's been doing. So Lilly doesn't have a mic, so we're going to be doing like that narrating kind of style of the podcast today, and we're just going to throw some of her maps on screen, just show you a little bit of gameplay, some of the maps that she makes. If you guys don't know who Lilly is somehow, I think your minds are going to be blown. If you do know who Lilly is and maybe you just don't follow up with everything that she does, your mind's going to be blown regardless. So definitely enjoy today's episode. Make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thank you guys all very much for the support, and let's get right into today's episode. We'd start off and I say, welcome back to the podcast. Very stoked to have you back on the show. Thank you for making another appearance, but before we get into what you've been doing in the community since we last talked, I wanted to ask you about your time spent creating all of these maps and coming up with these ideas. You have consistently put a wide variety of ideas from the Doom, the 45-degree maps, Jetpack Joychicken, I mean the list goes on and on. Where do you get your ideas and inspiration from your projects? Lilly says, hello, thank you for having me on the podcast again. I really appreciate this podcast as you always get people from all sides of the CS community instead of just focusing on one part like the esports scene, for example. It's nice seeing so many different people on here. The first question is actually a pretty hard one to answer. For a lot of my maps, I honestly have no idea how I got the ideas for them. Most of the time, I think the idea just pops into my head, but sometimes I'll just be messing around in Hammer, the level editor for CS2, and end up making something that gives me an idea of how I could use it in a fun way or expand the idea and make a map out of that. Next I say, I've been super curious to hear more about your Jetpack Joychicken map. This has to be one of the most unique workshop maps in CS history alongside your Fruit Ninja map in terms of creativity. Like, you literally recreated games that many people, including myself, grew up playing as the iPhone and iPod touches were starting to get popular. It's really impressive to see, not to mention the fact that you actually got the developers, Mirage Bricks Studios' attention, and they even showed some love too. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with the idea and the process of making these maps. Did you ever expect to get attention from the developers of the actual games? She says, for this map, I wasn't actually planning on even making Jetpack Joyride. It actually all started by just finding out about the CL_lock camera 0 command, which I thought I could probably make some sort of 2D map out of. I combined it with a previous thing I made where shooting guns would push the player in the opposite direction, like some other games have, and realized shooting down with the Negev just looked like Jetpack Joyride. I ended up swapping out the player with the chicken and adding all obstacles from the original game in, and it worked surprisingly well for how it's nothing like CS2. I never expected it to get nearly as much attention as it did, and would have never expected the developers to see and interact with it. I was very happy to see that they were not just okay with it, but actually liked it as some other companies try to take this stuff down. This episode of Halftime with Bizzy is brought to you in part by Pricempire.com. Pricempire.com is absolutely loaded with essential tools for any skin enthusiast. Whether it be their blog, their price comparison app, the trending deals, or your personal inventory tracker, I mean, Price Empire really has it all. Pricempire.com is trusted by more than 1 million users on Trustpilot to ensure everybody that it is a fair and legit website. Pricempire.com is linked in the description. Go step your skins game up today. On the topic of mobile games, we have to talk about the Subway Smurfers map. How on earth did you put all of this together, and was there any difficulties putting this all together since it's just such a different style of map and game mode? This was probably the most annoying thing to make in CS2 that I've done so far. I could complain about this for ages, so I'll try to keep it simple, but Counter-Strike 2 can barely handle any sort of collision that's moving, so just about everything the player interacts with is actually stationary and will just toggle on and off depending on where the visuals of it are. The way I got the player to look like they are running is by using an invisible func_conveyor command from AR baggage. Just about everything in this map was a huge mess to work on, but I think it was worth it. Now let's fast forward a little bit. You posted some incredible statistics from your personal Steam workshop analytics, which read over 765,000 subscribers to you and your workshop submissions. It's so important to note that you've been making maps in the CS2 community for about a year, and besides the almost 800,000 people that have subscribed to your workshop submissions, you've also amassed over 20,000 followers on Twitter as well. This is an incredible achievement, and your hard work is certainly loved by so many people in the community. When you look at all of this as a whole, what does this make you feel? Honestly, I don't think I have properly registered it still. In some ways it feels very normal, and I'm used to it, but when I actually think about it, I almost can't believe any of it. I appreciate everyone who shows support so much. I've always wanted to either make games or levels for games as a job. There's nothing else I would have wanted to do, so I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to do this. I then ask, when you started your journey in making maps, did you ever see yourself taking it to the levels you take it to now, or expect to get this much love and attention from the CS community? Not at all. When I was much younger, I made maps in Gmod and CSGO just to play with friends. I never even thought about other players playing it at that point. For CS2, I didn't do too much until I saw a tweet from a Twitter user where he asked if someone could make an aim warm-up map in the style of Duck Hunt, and I thought it would be a fun thing to try, so I made that, and it got around 500,000 views, which I did not expect at all. You are making a 2D KZ map where essentially you are looking at a spotlight on the wall with the shadows of the obstacles you are jumping to that are being casted onto the wall. Yet again, you knock it out of the park with another idea that I don't think we've ever seen before. Do you have any plans on continuing to make this map bigger and more difficult? I never expected people to like this concept so much, so I never did too much with it originally, but after seeing everyone's reaction to it and it winning a mapping contest, I do want to go back and do more with it at some point and see if I can add any more to it. You released DE_Express last November, which is a wingman map based on a train that is constantly moving throughout the entire round through a snowy climate. This isn't the first map that you've made where the map is essentially moving the whole time the users are playing. Are there a lot of complex things to work with when it comes to making a map that has players in an object that is constantly moving? With these maps, the area the player is actually on is actually stationary. For DE_Express, the outside ground is just a huge funk_conveyor command, like from AR_baggage, and everything else you see outside, like the falling snow, mist, and even trees, are all custom particles that spawn at a certain point and all move down the train and despawn once they're far enough away. It's not too hard to do, but it can take a while to make it look good without taking too much FPS. On April 5th, you posted a map that you have been dabbling around with, which showcases you using certain buttons and shooting on the timeline underneath the buttons and making your own beat using sounds from the buttons. When I saw this, I was pretty amazed at your continuous efforts to continue raising the bar in creating maps for Counter-Strike. Is this a little side project where you're just messing around creating random things, or do you plan on making this way more in-depth where people could literally produce a whole song with some of the sounds that you put in the map? Would this lead you to one day maybe even create a Guitar Hero style map? The idea for it was actually because I wanted to make a similar thing to my CS Paint map. The trailer for my CS Paint map actually used music from Mario Paint, which as well as Paint also allowed you to create music in. So I always wanted to either make this a sequel to my CS Paint map or add it to the map as an update. Once I finished it, I thought it was very different to the map, so I ended up releasing it as a separate map. I know you always keep a lot of projects on the go and you are very busy with creating numerous maps at the same time. Do you find yourself ever running into a wall and having trouble coming up with more ideas, or do you just have like an endless amount of ideas that you are coming up with and making maps out of? I can't wrap my head around all of the stuff that you come up with so consistently. It's actually just incredibly mind-blowing. I always have quite a few projects going on at once, usually more than I should. Currently, I have 142 different map project folders at the time of writing this. Of course, there's quite a few that I haven't put too much time into. I'm never out of ideas for maps, but I do often lose interest in maps before finishing them. What's next on your bucket list? Do you have any plans on working with other people in the community to make maps for them, or maybe one day trying to get Valve to use your maps in a show match for a major or any other tier 1 event? What do you have planned for your future? Lily says, I would love to someday get something into the game. I actually have quite a few maps that I'm working on with others. I don't want to announce or reveal any of them yet, as it still could be quite a while until they are finished, but I can say for anything I'd hope to get included in the game, it would probably be an arms race map, as I think it offers the most freedom, both gameplay wise and settings/theme. Thank you so much for your time for another amazing podcast episode, and thank you for all you do to keep Counter-Strike interesting and fun. Is there anything you would like to let the people know before we sign out? Lily says, I mostly just want to thank you for having me on, but also shout out some other mappers/modders that deserve more attention. At @girlglock_, at dirtkiller23, at angel_foxo, at Corey_bagel, at _clicks_, at maximum Puteline, and at it's ethers. Alrighty guys, and there you have it. That wraps up everything for today. Who comes close to Lily when it comes to making maps? Not many people. Not many people. Really brings a lot to the table, and it's really awesome to see a game that's been out for so long. I mean, you know, this game has run what is it, 25 years it's been around now, and Lilly enters the scene and just takes the bar to the highest heights that we've ever seen on the workshop ever. So to see her continuously and consistently just raising the bar and just thinking of all types of crazy ideas is super cool. And most importantly, to hear her story and what she has to say about her work is absolutely amazing too. So shout out to Lilly. Her links will be in the description if you guys want to check them out. Give her a follow, subscribe to her workshop map on Steam, subscribe to her YouTube, all that stuff. Check it out down below. My links are down there as well. Feel free to follow up on that. And that's going to be it for this week. Thank you guys, everybody, for tapping in. And you guys have a good Friday. Much love, and we will catch you on next Friday when we upload again. Till next time, everybody.